Imani panjasika padani silena boga sampada silena niputing yanti tasma silang visodaye sadhu sadhu sadhu. So my story began a lot this time round when I was ordained in Kuala Lumpur, and that was in Buddhist Mahava Vihara, Brickfields, by the current Chief Mahathera Sri Dhammaratana, with Bhante Madhawalabunyaji as one of my many principal teachers. So in many ways, returning to Kuala Lumpur always feels a little like coming home. Over the years, I've had the opportunity to live, travel, teach and practice in a variety of countries and traditions. One thing I'd notice is that wherever people come from, they tend to wrestle with the same questions, like, am I on the right path? Can I trust my decisions? Can I trust myself? What should I believe? And what should I doubt? Tonight's talk is called I Believe in Mirror Balls. Now, a mirror ball is an interesting object. It doesn't create any light of its own. It simply reflects light in many different directions. Sometimes our lives are a bit like that. We see fragments, reflections, possibilities, hopes, fears, and uncertainties. We rarely see the whole picture all at once. This evening, I'd like to explore the relationship between doubt and faith. Not blind faith, but the kind of confidence that develops through experience, reflection, testing, and practice. We'll look at why doubt is not necessarily our enemy, why certainty is often overrated, and how wisdom may emerge when questioning and confidence learn to work together. So thank you all for being here tonight. Now, let us begin. Talk 20. I believe in miracles. Doubt and faith. A Sufi story. We need a talk, they all said, but the temple didn't have a monk. Well, there is that one weirdo monk up at the hill. Okay. If there is really no one else. He arrived. Hands up if you already know what I'm going to say. No one put their hands up. Then you are too unready to teach. Bye. And he walks out. Next week, the monk shows up. Hands up if you already know what I'm going to say. Half the congregation put their hands up. Then you half tell the other half what needs to be said. Bye. And he never came back again. Doubt. When doubt appears, what are you doubting? The teaching, the teacher, or your own capacity to, understand? Notice whether doubt protects you from disappointment or keeps you from commitment. Faith need not mean certainty. It may simply mean willingness to continue. The monastery car was very old, not very good. Look, The windscreen wiper is not working, the driver said. We took it into the garage and asked the owner, how about a windscreen wiper for our vehicle? The owner looked carefully, okay, and he said, okay, it's a deal, meaning he's going to swap one windscreen wiper for the whole car. On the rear view mirror, the wing mirror, was written, objects in the mirror are closer than they appear. So we drove around in reverse to save petrol. Doubt is not the enemy of faith. It is a testing ground. When examined carefully, doubt exposes weak assumptions. And doubt strengthens what survives scrutiny. Faith that has passed through questioning becomes steadier, less fragile, and less dependent on mood or external reassurance. The power of self-belief. The monk and the magical amulet story. A hard-working boy doubted himself and failed despite effort. A monk gave him an amulet and told him to spend a night alone in a crematorium. Frightened, but trusting the amulet, he faced his fear and survived. Believing it protected him, his confidence grew and success followed. A year later, the monk revealed that the amulet was completely empty, just tin. It was never magic. It was his faith. The boy realized success came not from the object, but from the confidence awakened within himself. So with you, when doubts cloud the mind, pause and steady attention on the breath. Let agitation settle naturally rather than arguing with thoughts. Like mud sinking in water, clarity returns when disturbance stops. Faith begins not with forcing belief, but with calming the mind. Recall a time when doubt prevented a mistake. Recall another when it blocked growth. What distinguishes wisdom from fear? Faith is not blind belief, but tested confidence built slowly through experience, through reflection, and honest questioning over time. Now, a quote from another religion. And God said to John, come forth, and ye shall be granted eternal life. But John came fifth, and he won a toaster. Have you heard of the soldier who survived pepper spray and mustard gas? He was a seasoned veteran. How do you talk to the dead? To dead Italians? With a Luigi board. An apprentice starts studying with a master. In the morning, the master tells him a secret mantra to practice and says not to disturb him as he will meditate by the river. Go to the temple on the other side and practice. Later, the master sits beneath a banyan tree as the still river flows gently by. Birds chirp. He hears blip, 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 blip. He opens his eyes. The apprentice is walking briskly towards him on the water's surface. Breathless, he arrives. Master, sorry, what was that word again? In moments of uncertainty, what steadies you? Evidence, community, memories of past ideas and insights. Notice how faith often grows quietly from small confirmations rather than dramatic revelations. Doubt can refine faith when examined carefully, instead of suppressed and instead of indulged. In my first temple, I was attending an ordination of a Scotsman, a Scottishman called Stephen. Me and a Sri Lankan monk helped out. This is in Chiang Mai. It was a mass ordination, about 25 monks all being ordained together. A monk came to me and asked, "Has he been given his name yet?" I said, "Steve?" He said, "No." I said, "Okay, well, what day of the week were you born on?" asked the monk officiating. "Thursday," he said. The monk pulled out a book of names and went down the list. Thursday. Here it is. Your name is Titiko. That's it, bye, and walked off after calling him Titiko for the rest of his life. So the monk moved briskly on. He said, "You're not calling me Titiko." This was the start of his whole ordination. Nearly started with a fight. The abbot actually had a nickname for Stephen. It was 7 Up, because he couldn't remember Stephen. Doubt asks, is this true or is it not true? Faith says, I am going to walk this path. One investigates and the other one commits easily. Both are needed though. Without doubt, belief becomes blind. Without faith, inquiry becomes endless hesitation, never ripening into lived understanding or transformation. Orpheus, his faith and his doubts. From ancient Greece. Orpheus, a musician whose song could tame beasts, lost his wife, Eurydice, to a snake bite. Grief drove him to the underworld, where his music moved Hades, king of the underworld, to pity. Eurydice could return on one condition. He must never look back until they reach the light. As Orpheus and Eurydice climbed upwards from the darkness, doubt entered Orpheus's mind. Was she truly behind him? Just before reaching safety, he turned to check. No! In that instant, she vanished forever. Doubt destroyed what love had nearly restored. So instead of debating endlessly, test one teaching directly. Practice generosity, for example, or patience, or just mindfulness for 1 week, and observe the results carefully. Faith strengthens through verification by yourself. Small experiments build confidence much more reliably than abstract discussions or borrowed conviction from others. When confidence falters, remember someone who has crossed before you. Read their story, recall their steadiness, or seek guidance. Seeing that the path works for others gives courage to step forward, even when your own uncertainty or certainty feels incomplete. Observe how the mind seeks guarantees before acting. Is it realism or avoidance? Faith may be the courage to step forward without control, guided by values rather than certainty. Doubt asks questions. Faith decides to walk anyway. If you're feeling discouraged, always remember, confidence is 10% hard work and 90% complete delusion. In the Apannaka Jataka, 2 merchants cross a waterless desert. The first, foolish, believes demons disguised as travellers who promise a lush oasis ahead. He throws away his water to lighten the carts. There is no oasis. His caravan perishes. Weeks later, the Bodhisattva leads another caravan. Hearing the same promise, he questions it. In a desert, water does not just suddenly appear. He keeps the supplies, doesn't throw them away. His caravan survives, and even returns with the abandoned goods from the first merchant. Discernment, not blind trust, leads to safety. When doubt repeats the same question, is it seeking truth or just postponing responsibility? Notice whether investigation leads to clarity or circles endlessly round and round. Faith sometimes begins when we stop demanding perfect answers. Faith sometimes begins when we commit to careful practice, even without complete certainty. 3 friends, a Christian, a Muslim, and a rabbi, bet that whoever converted a wild animal would win. A month later, the Christian and the Muslim arrived bruised and bandaged. The Christian tried converting an elk and was trampled on. The Muslim tried to convert a mountain lion and was chewed. The rabbi was in hospital, encased in plaster. What happened? They asked. Oh, I befriended a bear. I removed the thorn. I spoke of God. It followed me home, and it was really ready to convert. But if I did it again, I think I'd skip the circumcision. I was told that joke in Jerusalem, so it's fair. In Buddhism, not all doubt is the same. There is crippling doubt, which muddies the mind and leads to paralysis where you can't move and endless indecision. Is it right? Is it wrong? Should I? Shouldn't I? Then there's healthy doubt, honest inquiry, the kind that asks, investigates, and tests, and gradually verifies truth through experience. Ehipasiko. Check by yourself. At Jetavana, 30 monks came to see the Buddha, knowing they were ready for awakening. He questioned Sariputta in front of them. Sariputta, do you accept that meditation on the senses leads to Nibbana? Sariputta replied, no, I do not accept it out of faith alone, but I do accept it from direct experience and realization. The monks got angry, misunderstood, thinking he lacked faith. But the Buddha explained that true confidence comes from personal insight, not blind belief and just hearing from someone else. One who realizes that unconditioned cuts craving and ends rebirth is truly noble. So when doubt arises, name it clearly: confusion or fear, skepticism, fatigue. Distinguishing types prevents them blending into one heavy mood. Some doubts require investigation. Others require rest. Clarity about the doubt itself often weakens its grip and restores steadiness. Return to basic practices when faith feels thin. Ethical conduct, simple generosity, regular meditation. These are stabilizers. Instead of chasing inspiration, reinforce foundations. Confidence in the path grows when daily behavior aligns consistently with what you claim to value. What does doubt feel like in the body? Tightening, hesitation, restlessness? What does quiet confidence feel like? Reflect on how experience gradually builds trust over time. Faith may not grow from inspiration, but from repeatedly seeing wholesome actions bear steady fruits in daily life. In Egypt, there is an expression: trust in God, but still always tie your camel to a tree. I went to work there, painting. One of the more eccentric people was an MP constructing a mega resort. He was called Camel. I used to say, trust in God, but always tie camel to a tree. In Egypt, my faith was tested. I was asked to decorate a 350-meter hotel dome that was 9 floors up. An eye in the center, radiating light. One worker was afraid of heights, nervous, climbing up the scaffold. He lit a cigarette. The match broke and it went in his eye. He fell onto the stencil of the eye that I'd made. I quickly filled his eye with cooling water and then yogurt to cool it down, soothe it. Looking upwards all day is painful on your eyes. The eye is not evolved for it. I found a mindful trick though. Holding a mirror in my hand, I could relax, look down, and I could see all the details of that which was above me, like 40 foot up, very comfortably. It's like meditation. Do you doubt your inner calm and thoughts more than you doubt your fears? Consider how often negative predictions are believed when we think of them, without any evidence or any verification. Faith in Dhamma can begin with small experiments. Act kindly, observe the results, and let direct experience slowly replace anxious speculations. A Thai man, a Sri Lankan man, and a Malaysian man were hiding in a barn after escaping from the police. Hearing the police searching nearby, they each jumped into large sacks under blankets. The officers entered, grew suspicious. One kicked the first sack. Woof! Woof! Barked the Thai man, pretending to be a dog. They moved on. The second sack was kicked. Meow! Meow! Said the Sri Lankan man. The officers nodded. Must be a cat in there. Walked to the last cat. They kicked it firmly. From inside came the reply, mangoes! Faith has two characteristics. First, it clears the mind, like a filter settling mud in water. Second, it gives courage to step forward, like crossing a river after seeing that it can be done by someone else. It is not blind belief, but verified confidence, born from experience. In Rumi's telling of the elephant in the dark, several men enter a dark room to examine an elephant. One feels the trunk and says, it is like a water spout. Another touches the ear and says it's just like a fan. One feels a leg and calls it like a pillar. Another the back and says that elephant is like a throne. Each is certain, yet each only knows one part. Later, 6 blind elephants discussed what a man is like. So they felt him in and with their huge feet, and they all agreed. Men are all flat. There's some more tactics. Set a time boundary for questioning. Reflect deliberately for just only 15 minutes and then act. Endless analysis drains energy without resolution. Faith matures when inquiry is balanced with commitment and actual action. Allow understanding to develop through experience rather than speculation alone. When questioning arises, write down the concern clearly. Then write down what still feels reliable. This balances investigation with appreciation. Faith does not silence doubt. It holds it within a wider frame of what has already proven steady and beneficial. And that will dissolve the power of it rather than zooming in and focusing on. Is your doubt protective? Is your doubt skeptical? Is your doubt cynical? Or is your doubt genuinely curious? Each carries a different tone, different direction. Notice whether doubts opens inquiry or quietly closes possibilities. Faith needs not silence questions. Faith may simply mean remaining open without knowing. If you remain open long enough, understanding may mature and arise naturally, without any answers. Returning to the Philippines, a tricycle driver knew me well and where to take me. I got in. We drove along. When I asked him, oh, by the way, how much is the ride? He said, 70 pesos. What? I protested. It was never that much in the past, ever. He calmly reached up to his sun visor, took out a paper receipt from a few years ago with my signature on for 70 pesos. Just goes to show what doubt is about. Faith is like learning to ride a bicycle at dusk in the evening. Doubt wobbles the handlebars and whispers, you're going to fall, you will fall, you will fall. The road's uneven, the light is fading, and certainty never arrives in advance. Yet balance comes only through motion. If you refuse to pedal until completely sure, you remain frozen at the curb, never leaving. When you begin anyway, small corrections steady you. The body learns what the mind could never calculate. Faith is not blindness. It is movement that gradually proves itself trustworthy. A woman walks into a library and asked if they had any books about paranoia. The librarian said, "They're right behind you." I once bought some used paint. You know what the shape of it was? It was in the shape of a house. Doubt is like a fog on a mountain path. It obscures distance and direction. Yet the ground beneath your feet remains completely solid. Faith is taking the next careful step, even while the summit is hidden. With each step, the fog thins a little bit more, and clarity slowly returns. Doubt multiplies when thoughts are believed without observation. Faith grows when experience is tested directly. When we observe breathing, for example, we can see it. Precepts we can see for ourselves. Or when we see kindness, or when impermanence, when we observe these carefully, confidence arises from seeing patterns clearly, not from clinging to comforting imaginary ideas or authority. So doubt and faith are not enemies. They are partners in growth. Doubt asks us to look carefully, to test what we believe, to question easy answers. Faith gives us courage to move forward, even when certainty is incomplete. If we wait for absolute proof, we never begin. If we refuse to question, we never deepen. Walk with both. Let doubt keep you honest, and let faith keep you moving. In that balance, wisdom matures and confidence becomes grounded rather than blind. Faith is like planting seeds in dry soil. You water anyway, but doubt says nothing will grow for days. And then for days nothing appears. Then one morning, green breaks through the surface. Trust was not naive. It was patience working quietly beneath the visible ground. Doubt can refine your thinking and prevent blind leaps. Faith can strengthen resilience and purposeful action. When balanced, they create psychological flexibility. Instead of seeking certainty, cultivate steady curiosity and tested confidence. Growth emerges when questioning sharpens understanding, and commitment translates insight into lived experience. So I'd like to end this talk with wishing you well, my gratitude and appreciation for your kind attention. May many of you attain the peace of Nibbana and be free from all avoidable suffering and harm. May you all be peaceful, happy, safe, and well. Sadhu. For those scholars, you'll be able to check up. I'll make this available as well on the YouTube. So you'll be able to follow up if you like looking at suttas and exploring the Pali Canon for some of these story types and ideas, where you can follow up. canonical echoes from each different theme. Vicikicca, our great friend, doubt. Saddha, our great friend, faith. Balancing investigation from the Bojjhanga Sutta. Oh, lots of things that you can follow up on. So there's a lot of food for your minds. Oh, and by the way, there were lots of images that came from Yoshida, Hiroshi Yoshida, Japanese artist in the 1890s, who was used a lot through this. So I wanted to give him that credit and tribute. So now we can have a sit and just digest. And I'll give you some guidance for those who wish to. So, on this question a bit between technique and non-technique, it's good to sit somewhere in the middle. We shouldn't necessarily glue ourselves to a technique, because sometimes we just need nature, our natural mind, to blossom by itself, without forcing and without too much cognitive intervention. So sometimes it's good to just sit comfortably and absorb. There's been a lot of stimulating ideas that you've just heard. So sometimes it's good to just sit. Don't have any technique. Just be happy, be contented. We're in good company, comfortable time and space. And just feel some joy, feel some comfort. And there you start to find you arrive much more in the present moment, because you're happy, you're joyful. You notice the skin touching your clothes, your feet touching the ground. You notice your fingers touching each other. You also notice the breathing coming in and out. But it tends not to work well if you try to force our mind to stare or look at something like the breathing or the abdomen. So just enjoy being here for a moment. Rather than thinking about doubt and faith, just experience them directly. Just find a comfortable posture. Allow the spine to become naturally upright, just alert rather than slumping. Rest the hands nice and comfortably. If it's comfortable, close the eyes. Nowhere else to go. Nothing else to accomplish. And for these next few minutes, simply allow yourself permission to be completely present. Begin by noticing the body, the weight of the body resting upon the chair or cushion, the contact with the floor, the pressure, the warmth, the coolness, simply arriving. Nothing to change, nothing to improve. Now become aware of breathing. Allow the breath to breathe itself. No special breathing. No kind of super deep breathing. Simply know, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, and breathing out. For a while, allow the breathing to become your home. Whenever the mind wanders, simply come home again. No criticism or frustration. Just beginning again. As the breathing settles, notice that thoughts continue to arise. Some are pleasant, some unpleasant. Some are useful, many completely unnecessary. Simply notice awareness of thinking, awareness of remembering, awareness of planning, awareness of imagining, and gently return to the breathing. Like clouds crossing an open sky. The sky never struggles with the clouds. It's not in its nature. It's deep and open and blue. Imagine a muddy pool, a muddy pond. If someone keeps stirring it, the water remains cloudy. But if left undisturbed, the mud slowly settles by itself. The clarity was always there. It simply couldn't be seen. Allow your mind to settle in exactly the same way. Not by force, not by argument, simply through stillness. Sooner or later a doubt appears. Perhaps it does, perhaps it doesn't. Perhaps a thought such as, I'm not doing this properly. Or, my mind is much too busy. It doesn't work properly. This isn't working. I've never been good at meditation. Notice the doubt. Don't fight it. Don't believe it. Simply recognize, doubt has appeared. Awareness of doubt. The doubt is an object of awareness. It is not the awareness itself. Maybe ask yourself gently, what exactly am I doubting? Am I doubting the method? Am I doubting the teacher? Am I doubting my own capacity? Simply observe. No need to answer immediately. Just become curious. Now return once more to breathing. Each breath is something that requires no belief, only observation. Breathing in, known. Breathing out, known. And this is how confidence grows, not through blind belief, but through direct experience. Notice how every successful return to the breath is already a small act of faith. The mind wandered, yet you came back. It wandered again, yet you came back. Again and again. Not because you were certain, but because you were willing. And sometimes faith is simply the willingness to continue. Now notice the body. Is there any place where doubt has a physical feeling? Perhaps the forehead, the jaw, the throat, the chest, or the stomach. Restlessness, tightness, pressure. Simply know it. Allow it to be there. And breathing gently into that area. Not trying to remove it. Simply making room for it. Now notice another possibility. Can you remember a moment in life when patience brought a good result? Maybe you learned a skill, a language, a musical instrument, or you learned to cook, or ride a bicycle, or get the hang of your mobile phone with patience. When steady effort eventually bore fruit, when kindness made a difference, when meditation helped. Can you remember a moment when generosity lightened the heart? Don't force a memory. If one appears naturally, simply rest with it. Allow confidence to arise naturally, from experience, not imagination, real experiences. Like the story of the empty amulet. Perhaps the confidence was never inside the object. Perhaps it had always been quietly waiting inside you. Continue watching each breath. Breathing in, breathing out. Thoughts arise, thoughts pass. Sensations arise, sensations pass. Emotions arise, emotions pass. Everything changing, everything moving, nothing remaining. Observe impermanence directly. Not as a philosophy, but as experience. Now imagine standing on a mountain path, a gentle fog surrounding you. You cannot see the summit, only the next few steps. Notice how the mind wants guarantees, it wants certainty. It wants to know the entire journey before taking one step. Yet life has never worked that way. Meditation has never worked that way. The Dhamma has never worked that way. The next step is enough. Even lifting up your foot is enough. Feeling it move through the air is enough. One careful breath. One careful observation. One moment of mindfulness, and the path gradually reveals itself. You simply rest in awareness itself. Nothing to solve, nothing to become, just knowing, breathing, hearing, feeling, thinking, all arising, all passing, like reflections upon a mirror. The reflections change, the mirror remains undisturbed. Like the mirror ball from tonight's talk, the mind reflects many experiences, some joyful, some fearful, some confusing. But awareness itself remains clear, simply reflecting whatever appears. Ask yourself, what would it feel like to trust this moment just a little more? Not blindly, not carelessly, but enough to keep taking the next wholesome step. Allow gratitude to arise for the Buddha, who encouraged investigation rather than blind belief, for the Dhamma, which invites us to test rather than merely accept, for the Sangha, who have walked this path before us. Gratitude to yourself for taking this time to cultivate wisdom. Become aware once again of the whole body sitting here, the sounds around you, the room, the people practicing beside you. Take 3 slow, gentle breaths. Breathing in and out. Again. Once more. When you're ready, slowly begin to move the fingers. Slowly begin to move the toes. Very gently open the eyes. Carry this quiet confidence with you. Not certainty, not blind belief. Confidence born from careful observation, steady practice, direct experience. May you be peaceful, may you be happy, may you be safe, may you continue walking the path with both wise questioning and courageous faith.